Monday, rally. Tuesday, court. Wednesday, rally. Thursday, back to court. Friday, tea time. Saturday, chillin'. Sunday, cough up 80 million. Monday, fundraise, badmouth Nikki, check the mirror.
I especially love your pins that say time's up because that's what I say to all my cabinet members after 3 days. Now, before we start, I'd like to make a toast. Everyone, raise your glass of Diet Coke. Here's to you for being so fake. Did you see Melania? She stole the show.
Jimmy Fallon just turned Trump and Melania into the most hilarious reality show no one ever asked for, with a grin bigger than Trump's comb-over. He roasted their romantic chemistry, or lack thereof, like a botched Broadway audition. He nailed Trump's signature hand gestures, Melania's 1,000-yard stare, and even hit them with a handshake so stiff it practically screamed business merger. The crowd went wild, Trump probably typing in all caps, Melania perfecting her I don't know him face, and social media bracing itself for a full-on meme storm. Buckle up. It's about to be a meme explosion.
Yep, Trump returning to the White House is a huge historic comeback for someone who...
If you're enjoying this, don't forget to subscribe. Fallon certainly didn't hold back when it came to Trump and Melania. He went full throttle. Let's just say, Trump was definitely rage-scrolling that night. Fallon kicked things off. With his signature Trump impression, lips pursed, eyebrows raised, hands flailing, as if he were conducting an invisible orchestra of nonsense. The crowd was already losing it, and then he dropped the Melania bombshell.
Play who wore it better, me, Melania, or the Hamburglar?
With a perfectly blank stare, Fallon switched gears, straightening his posture and lowering his voice into robotic First Lady mode. Yes, I love my husband... Husband, he droned, pausing for effect. The audience erupted. The silence, the stiff delivery. This was peak Melania, and Fallon knew exactly what he was doing. But then came the knockout. For richer or richer. Boom. The joke hit harder than Trump's dance moves at a MAGA rally.
When you first started running,
You were very high voiced. Your voice was very high. Hey, China. You say China. And yeah, a lot of pointed, very high, and then you talk.
and then you got into a stage where you were just yelling. You were yelling into the microphone at people, and you're yelling at everyone. And like you don't even need the mic. And now
you're more of like a smoky, silky.
But Fallon wasn't done. He then mimicked Melania's infamous hand swat, the one where she rejected Trump's grip like he was handing her a court summons. The crowd lost it. Some were standing, others doubled over with laughter. He painted a picture of Melania counting down the seconds until her contract renewal, comparing their interactions to two coworkers who accidentally wore the same outfit and now have to pretend to be best friends.
Yep, Trump is back. He's now headline news 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As opposed to the last 4 years when he was also headline news 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And everyone's talking about this. One of Trump's first moves as president was to pardon nearly all of the 1,600 January 6th defendants. Yep, the January 6th rioters are free. They were so excited to be reunited with their friends and family who turned them in. Let's see you again. Thank you. I know where he is. Meanwhile, Trump just signed executive orders renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America and changing Denali back to Mount McKinley. Yeah, he's serious about renaming things, and he's not done there. Check out some of these other orders. First up, he's changing San Antonio to St. Tony. Wow.
Fallon wasn't just telling jokes. He was giving a masterclass in comedic destruction. The moment he slipped into his Trump impression, you knew it was game over. The squint, the pout, the signature... Folks, listen. No one's better at being president than me, okay? He had the audience in the palm of his hand before even finishing his first sentence. Then he dove in. Fallon tackled Trump's undeniable addiction. Not to power, not to politics, but to television ratings. He joked that if Trump could run for president of primetime TV, he'd do it in a heartbeat. Every speech he gives sounds like he's hosting a game show. Tonight, we have the biggest, the most tremendous, the least rigged election of all time. And if you vote for me, you might win a tax break for billionaires only.
That story again, no one invited Trump to their Super Bowl party. Yeah, in 1 week, the Super Bowl will be the highest rated show of all time, and Trump will take credit for it. Every time they cut to Taylor Swift, he's going to lean in like,
Also me. I'm here too. Also, hi. Hi, Mama Kelsey. Hi.
The crowd lost it, and just when they thought they could catch their breath, Fallon doubled down on the golf obsession. He mimicked Trump's swing, nodding as if deep in thought. People say I golf too much. Not true. I run the country from the golf course. I make all my decisions on the 18th hole. You want a foreign policy decision? Let me check my scorecard. Then, Fallon shifted to what might be Trump's biggest passion project, his never-ending political comeback. It's like a TV series that never gets canceled. This time on The Apprentice White House edition, will he return? Will Melania escape? Will anyone finally explain to him how government works? And speaking of Melania, Fallon did not hold back. He imitated her classic stone-faced expression, staring blankly into the audience. Melania, blink twice if you're okay. The crowd erupted. Fallon continued. At this point, even Siri has more enthusiasm than Melania.
I read that President Trump's last-minute decision to pardon nearly every January 6th rioter took a lot of his allies by surprise. They were like, this isn't the thoughtful, measured Trump we remember from the first term. According to one advisor, Trump just said, F it, release them all. Yeah, at this point, the only prisoner Trump hasn't released is Melania.
Then, Fallon recreated the iconic hand swat moment, Trump reaching for Melania's hand, only for her to yank it away like he had just handed her a parking ticket. She has quicker reflexes than the Secret Service. The second Trump reaches, boom, gone. Evasive maneuvers. She should be teaching self-defense classes. And just when you thought Fallon had burned through all his material, he hit Trump with one final jab. By the time Fallon wrapped up, the studio was a mess. Audience members wiping tears, gasping for air, completely unprepared for the comedic beatdown they had just witnessed. Meanwhile, somewhere in Mar-a-Lago, Trump was probably furiously typing. On Truth Social, and Melania, well, let's just say she was probably watching silently with a glass of wine.
It was Trump's inauguration, but the ceremony was moved inside because of freezing temperatures. Democrats were like, it doesn't bother us, we've been numb since November. Because of the weather, they also canceled the inauguration parade. When he heard that, Eric Trump was like, wait, so you're telling me SpongeBob won't be here? This afternoon, Trump was sworn in on 2 Bibles. Abraham Lincoln's and his own personal Bible. Yeah, you could tell which was which because one was 200 years old, the other was a menu from the Cheesecake Factory.
And Melania. Fallon didn't just joke about Melania, he created a full cinematic experience of what it must be like to live in her world. A world where public appearances feel more like court-mandated obligations, and every forced smile is less about charm and more about sheer survival. The moment he launched into the segment, the audience knew they were in for something legendary. He didn't just mention Melania's silence, he embodied it. The vacant expressions, the perfectly rehearsed nods, the energy of someone who's mastered the art of being physically present but mentally vacationing on a yacht in the Mediterranean. Fallon exaggerated every movement, dragging out her slow, emotionless blinks as if she were buffering in real life. Then came the iconic hand swat recreation. This wasn't just any reenactment, it was high art. Fallon threw himself into the role of Trump, puffing up his chest, strutting with exaggerated confidence, and reaching for an imaginary Melania's hand with the enthusiasm of a man who desperately needs the world to believe he's happily married. But then came the swat. Sharp, swift, and dismissive, like batting away an overzealous waiter who dared to refill a glass unprompted. The audience lost it. Fallon's exaggerated Trump face caught somewhere between shock, confusion, and the immediate urge to tweet about. Then Fallon turned to what everyone was thinking, but few dared to say. What actually goes through Melania's mind when Trump starts one of his infamous rants? He imagined the scene in slow motion, letting Trump's words fade into background noise, transforming into a dull hum of incoherent rambling. Meanwhile, Melania, stone-faced, unreadable, mentally drifts to another place, another time, perhaps meticulously planning furniture arrangements in a post-Trump future. The contrast was brilliant, and the audience couldn't get enough. But Fallon wasn't done. He took it further. Because the truth is, Melania's entire public existence often feels like an elaborate performance. She wants no part in the stiff waves, the perfectly timed yet visibly reluctant appearances, the kind of energy that screams, I would rather be anywhere but here. Fallon tuned into that feeling, stretching out every moment, making it uncomfortably real.
Conspiracy theory, did you see this going around that Melania Trump had been replaced with a body double? Did you hear this? It's a rumor, but some people are pointing to these photos as proof. Take a look. So the woman on the left, they say is fake Melania, and the woman on the right is real Melania. But it didn't help that Donald Trump was saying, well, he said this while standing with her. Watch.
We will be doing that. My wife, Melania, who happens to be right here.
Why would you say that?
Why would anyone ever? She happens to be really here, so it's not a hologram, it's a real person, so it's a human being.
By the time the bit was over, the crowd had been wiped out by laughter. Fallon had cracked open the unspoken truth that, for all of Trump's bluster, for all his desperate need to dominate every room, he still couldn't control the one thing. The world loves to see slip right through his fingers, Melania's approval. And whether she was watching from Mar-a-Lago, New York, or some undisclosed location far, far away, one thing was certain. Fallon had just turned her silence into the loudest joke of the night. If there's one thing the world can count on, it's that Trump never lets a late-night roast slide. Fallon's takedown wasn't just a joke, it was a direct hit to the ego, and Trump's response was as predictable as a Florida thunderstorm. Within hours, his Truth Social page was ablaze, caps lock fully engaged, exclamation points flying like confetti at a MAGA rally.
Compared President Trump to Houdini. Because, quote, if you keep him in a cage, he's going to get out. When asked how he knows that, he said, because we put him in a cage and he got out. Yeah, that's right. He said Trump's like Houdini. If you think about it, Trump is a pretty good magician because...
Then came the damage control. His inner circle scrambled to spin the moment because the last thing they needed was another late-night host baiting him into a media meltdown. Fox News quickly jumped into action, assembling a panel of Trump loyalists to gaslight America into believing Melania is the happiest wife alive. Some body language expert was dragged onto primetime TV, confidently explaining how Melania's infamous hand swats were actually love pats, and how her trademark deadpan stare was just a reflection of quiet admiration. But the real chaos, the behind-the-scenes panic, was even worse. Advisors desperately urged Trump to let it go, but that was never going to happen. Late-night jokes aren't just jokes to him. They're personal attacks, direct assaults on his carefully curated, gold-plated persona. He sees them as battles that must be fought, no matter how ridiculous the war. His history with comedians is long and petty, from his decade-long feud, with Rosie O'Donnell to the time he completely lost it over a Seth Meyers joke.
Yep, so far the Electoral College votes are 224 for Kamala Harris and 292 for Trump. Yep, 224 versus 292. It's basically Trump's made-up weight versus his actual weight. Well, Trump made history in a lot of ways last night. He became the first convicted felon ever elected president. Congrats. Yep, Trump could be the first president to be under White House arrest. Thank you. Thank you.
So, naturally, he went full Trump the next day. He doubled down during an impromptu press gaggle at Mar-a-Lago, where he ranted for 10 solid minutes about how late-night TV used to be great before it became a radical leftist propaganda machine. He claimed Fallon used to love him, that Melania was laughing at the jokes because she's got a great sense of humor, and just to add a little extra, he made sure to remind the press that his poll numbers were the best they've ever been. As the internet exploded, Trump's meltdown only added fuel to the fire. The memes poured in, Fallon's clip racked up millions of views, and Twitter X turned into a 24-hour comedy festival. Because in the end, Trump's overreactions always do one thing. They make the joke even funnier. The internet did what it does best, took Trump's meltdown and turned it into meme gold. Within minutes, X, formerly Twitter, was flooded with side-by-side clips of Fallon's jokes and Trump's all-caps rants, captioned with live reactions as if it were a UFC fight. The infamous hand swat moment, now a GIF, was captioned, "Melania, logging off from this drama." Someone even remixed Trump's response into a techno beat, and it was already trending on TikTok.
This afternoon, Trump was sworn in on 2 Bibles. Abraham Lincoln's and his own personal Bible. Yeah, you could tell which was which because one was 200 years old, the other was a menu from the Cheesecake Factory.
Turn your hymnal to the bottom of page 2. Jalapeno poppers wrapped in...
Celebrities jumped in, comedians piled on, roasting Trump like a Thanksgiving turkey. Fallon now faces one big decision. Does he keep the heat coming, or is this just the warm-up round? If history tells us anything, it's that Trump can't let a joke slide, especially one that turns into a full-fledged internet circus. The question isn't if he'll react, but how big the explosion will be. Will he flood Truth Social with a 10-post tirade about failing Jimmy Fallon and totally unfunny TV, or will he start throwing out random nicknames? Because let's be honest, Fallon is overdue for a Trump-style insult like Sad Jimmy or Flop Fallon.
The U.S. Virgin Islands, now they're the Mike Pence Islands. Next up, he's renaming Burger King and Dairy Queen to Burger President and Dairy First Lady. Here's another one. He's referring to the Bill of Rights as light suggestions. And finally, he's changing Melania to Hey Siri so someone actually responds.
And then there's Melania. Does she even acknowledge it? Or does she perfect the art of ignoring while quietly laughing to herself in a luxurious, well-decorated corner of Trump Tower? Because, let's be real, if anyone's tired of Trump's theatrics, it's probably the woman who has to dodge his hand in public. But Fallon? Oh, he's living for this. If anything, this just adds fuel to the late-night fire. Will he keep the heat coming? Will other comedians join the roast? One thing's for sure, the meme machine isn't slowing down, and Trump is about to find out that the internet never forgets.